Hello, my name's Duncan and welcome to Back Away from Donkey and Bath Books, and it's a Happy New Year, and this is like my first ease back into my booktubing since New Year. So it's a Happy New Year from little Ruby Renthouse, who can't stay in my house so long. We pop you down. Yes, she demanded to come up. So my first video of the year is just a few things that I kindly received over the Christmas period. We don't have any review, it's not sort of big present-y thing that we get, but a few little things that people were kind enough to give me. So I thought some of them were quite interesting for you, and I thought you might like to see them. So I have a really, really good friend who lives down south, who I used to work with many, many years ago, and he always picks me up with lots of weirdly random things, but it's all sort of interesting stuff. So I'm going to start with a couple of non-book items. Okay. I'm a big fan of the film Metropolis, and I love the Giorgio Moroder version. And just a fact for you, without Giorgio Moroder doing his weird colorized musical version, we wouldn't have the versions we have today, because to do that he did so much research and found so many prints and managed to add length to it, because I think it was originally had about an hour and a half missing off it. My friend sent me, because for some reason I'd never had a copy on disc. So I've got the version of Metropolis there, and I also, he gave me included in that was the soundtrack, which is quite an interesting soundtrack. You got people like Queen on there, Pat Benatar, but it's just quite an interesting thing. But yeah, so that's Giorgio Moroder's colorized version of Metropolis that I have a weird like for. It was at one point people actively disliked it, but the work he did to actually get it restored and that. But you need to watch the original, and you need to watch Giorgio Moroder's one. And it reminds me of the I said my video before, you would see about Sean Standfast, a conversation between him and Steve Donahue about Metropolis, and Steve poo-pooing it is one of the best films ever, but it is an incredible film really when you look at it, and the way they did some of the effects was incredible. But yes, so that's my Metropolis thing for my friend. And then let me just pop that down there. Let me just, another sort of random things he got me. I will show you this. This I used to own many, many years ago, but in the great book purge of the 1990s, God rest their souls, one of the things I got rid of, and this is the Dune storybook. Sorry, I had to take a break there. It's because the Tesco delivery van came down the end of our road and turned around, and because it's got such an obvious reversing sound, all my dogs recognise it and they go off because they think it's a delivery for us. Yes, one thing my friend got me was, I said it was lost in the Great Book Purge, was the Dune storybook from Lynch's Dune, which of course is stunning, and I adore it. And I said you've got lots of fantastic pictures in here, along with the text sort of abbreviating the story. But what always fascinated by this is, if you look at the front there, the actual text was abridged by done by Joan Vinjay, Verna Vinjay's wife, and a fantastic writer herself. Yeah, and I just found that very, very fascinating. It's great to have that one back. And then another random thing he picked up for me, which is, you know, Where's Wally? We got Where's Wookie? So next time I'm a bit bored, a bit depressed, I can find the Wookiee. But the other thing, which is excellent, I'm a big fan of the artist Chris Archelos, who sadly died a few years back. And I've weirdly, and one of the things I got rid of many years ago, I don't know what happened to it. I had a signed print of his, because I actually met him at, was it Games Day in 1980? I want to say 82, but it might have been 83 or something, but I met him there. But anyway, I've got a couple of books. I've got his Beauty and the Beast book, which is incredible, but this is his, that my friend brought me, is the art he did for Doctor Who for a lot of the Target books. And you know, I like Doctor Who, but I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, but I love Chris Archelos. So let's do Tom Baker and stuff. I've got one there. I found that one. Oh, I love that one. Hopefully you can see that well enough. But yeah, great artist, Chris Argylis. So yeah, so that's there. So now we go on to normal books to read. I got Venus in Half Shell by Kilgore Trout. If you didn't know, let's see if you can see that a little better. Kilgore Trout was a pseudonym for Kurt Vonnegut. And this book, though, was actually written by Philip Jose Farmer, who wrote it in sort of tribute to him. And I think there was a bit of kerfuffle about it at the time, because I think he rubbed Kurt Vonnegut up the wrong way at one point. But from what I've heard, it's very trashy, and it's one of the sort of things that Farmer does really, really well. So I'm interested to read that at some point. Next book I got was an Asimov and Silverberg book, which is Asimov and Silverberg. They did a few books in the sort of mid to late 80s and early 90s, stuff that they'd collaborated on. And a lot of them were from Asimov's short stories, and they were expanded out, which I think this one is. I don't know this book at all, but I do really, really quite like the cover. I don't know who did the cover. Does anybody say who did the cover? No. No, they don't. But yes, so if anybody's read that, I'm quite interested in that. But as you know, I'm a pretty huge sort of Asimov fan anyway, so I'm just swapping around. Okay. Next, I got a couple of things that my lovely in-laws got me. I will get the main bits in a minute, I'll cut off a second, but let's start on the books. On the books, I got... This one's been hard to get hold of, actually. This was Gene Wolfe. I'm a big fan of Gene Wolfe. And especially, and this is Peace. And I was looking a while ago for copies, older original editions, and it's one of the few I've not read of his early works, because I've read a lot of his early stuff. But to get hold of a second copy of some of his early stuff is really quite expensive. So this new edition that turned up a few years back is really good. So I'm looking forward to dipping into that. I know I love myself a bit of Wolfe. Prose is always gorgeous. And then the other book I got off them, sent off. They know me well, but I had a list. No, a list, but my wife gave them some stuff I had written down somewhere a while ago. So this is volume 1 of the Trigon Empire. And Trigon Empire was a comic strip that went, I think it started off in 65 in Ranger magazine. It moved around with a few other magazines and stuff there. And a lot of people quote it as a big influence. And I've always wanted to read it, never got around to reading it. And a lot of it's based on sort of mythological myths and mythological myths, all myths and mythological. But yeah, myths and Greek and Roman, and it sort of mashes up a load of stuff. So the art in it is lovely. I love this sort of style of sort of 60s and 70s art that we get here. And this is volume 1. I don't know how many volumes there are in total. But I've heard a lot of people quote it as like an influence, but never personally read it. Because I said it started off in a magazine for boys called Ranger, which as much as I'm old, I'm not old enough to don't actually remember that one. And then I think it went into a couple of other things, and maybe Look and Learn, a couple of other things. So that's a collection, that's the volume 1 collection. I think there may be 3 of them, so really I hope we get onto that this year. Anyway, I'm just going to do a cut here and get you a couple of other bits I got that not book related, but may interest you. I'm back now, so if all you were interested in was the books, scoot along now and see my next video. Next video is going to be more books, but anyway, my lovely in-laws picked up some other bits for me, which was fantastic. I've been talking the past couple of years about getting back to doing a bit of modelling, and so what they got me was this fantastic model to build of the USS Voyager, which is one of my favourite Star Trek, and I'm not sure, so 67 parts, paint and stuff, so looking forward to picking on that this year, or maybe not this year, but I've not done any modelling for a long time, so I'm going to dip my toes in. And then the other one they got me was from Star Wars from The Mandalorian, actually, which is the ship that is one from the prequels, which I love the look at. The Mandalorian one, this one, is meant to be the slightly easier one, so I may start with that, but the problem is I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to want to get everything set up for it, but what time I have this year to do these, I'm going to hopefully start one of those. So yes, that was just a few bits to get me back into my booktubing content and to just show you some stuff that I thought might interest you. Anyway, I will speak to you very soon. There's going to be a few videos over the next week, and then I will hope you're building up ready for Filmtastic February. Anyway, I will speak to you all very soon, and bye for now.